Hi folks, this is Vicki from patternprincess.com. Today I want to show you how to work this beautiful, actually it's called a Beautiful Day shawl, and I did this using a Cotton Kings yarn. I'm going to kind of scroll through it here. I have a blue and a white and then a gray yarn. The blue is more of a light blue, and so I used 3 different colors of yarn and some varied stitches through here. And here we got the gray, a little bit of white, blue, and then we finished off with some gray. But it's a beautiful shawl, very easy to work once you get started, but I did write out every single row, and I do have the stitch count in case you want to count your stitches every row. I don't think you have to, but especially in the beginning, to make sure that you're on the right track, you might want to count out your stitches. What I use here is a Cotton King, and this is 8/4. And I'm pretty sure I got this from Hobby, Hobbi. Hobby Yarns on my free, this pattern is free on my website. And on the website, normally at the bottom of the website, I have a link pretty much all the time, or in the Saving Center, to Cotton Kings yarn. So you should be able to get it there. But this is all cotton. I used an E size hook. I gotta make sure I'm telling you the right number. E, which is 3.5 millimeter. I used 2 small skeins of white, and I barely made the light blue and the gray. The gray I had to finish off with like a half double crochet because I just could not make it work with anything else. I couldn't even stick a chain stitch in the middle and make it. So if you were a loose crocheter, you might want to get 2 skeins of the gray and 2 of the light blue. Each skein is 186 yards long. So I used 2 of the white, which is 372 yards, and 1 of the gray and 1 of the light blue, which is 186 each piece. If you want to make this in a solid color, then I would make sure that you have about 750 yards, just a round number. Okay, the shawl size it's 30 inches from this tip to this tip, and then it's 76 inches wide, so it's a nice width. And I don't think that there's anything really hard about the shawl. The part that I had to always explain, because it always starts off with the same chain 3, counts as a double crochet, and 2 double crochet in the first stitch. That's where you get your triangular shape. It's going to grow by those stitches. And also in the center, you're always going to do a double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet in the center. And so that's the same on each side. What's different is of course you have the wider rows here with the gray with the holes, and then we have these rows where I'm actually working in the back loop on some of these and the front loop on some of these, and then these other ones, the blue, where I'm just doing the double crochet stitch and nothing fancy. And then what's different though often is, besides a little bit of a stitch that you're using, is what you do when you come up to the center stitches, because it didn't always line up exactly every single row. So then I had to determine, well, what are my last stitches I need to create so that it kind of looks symmetrical. Like you can tell here, I did 2 double crochet before, or I should say 1 double crochet before the center double crochet, 2 chains and double crochet. And here I just worked my 2 double crochet and my chain stitches, and then I went right into the middle. So some of the rows are a little bit different that way. So I'm going to work probably about the first 13 rows. I'm going to do mine in a solid color today. I'm not going to change color today, but I'll kind of work up to about this area in the middle. So it'll be kind of a nice little area. And the shawl itself, I think, is 40. Let me see. I got to look at my papers. It's always good to read my own pattern here too. It's 46 rows long. So this is a beautiful shawl. It's very lightweight. I just love the texture and the softness of it. It's very nice and soft on your neck. So we'll get going on our stitches next. Okay, I have my slip stitch on my hook, and we're going to get going. So first thing we're going to do is, you could work a magic circle, magic ring doing this. If you're not sure how to work that, I do also have a nice tutorial on the website. But today for this shawl, I chose to do a chain 4. It's just a little bit easier. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to slip stitch back into the furthest stitch from the hook. We're just going to slip stitch right in there. And that's going to form our circle. Okay. Now we're going to work our first row, can't even talk, in this circle. We're going to chain 3. And in this pattern, chain 3 always counts as a double crochet. 2, 3. Yarn over, and then in that circle, if I can get in that circle, there we go. We're going to work 3 more double crochet. So right here, 1, yarn over, go in the circle, yarn over, bring it back, go through 2 loops and 2 loops. There's 2 double crochet, but actually because that chain 3 counts as a double crochet, that's 3. We're going to do 1 more double crochet, and then we're going to be at the middle point of this first row. Okay, and so once we get to the middle point of this first row, that means we chain 2, 1, 2. Going to yarn over, and now we're going to do 4 double crochet. So anything you do on one side of that center chain 2 here, you're going to always do on the other side. So remember, this chain 3 counted as a double crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have to have 4 on the other side. Does that make sense? So we're going to do 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. And row 1 is done. And then we're going to turn. We always turn at the end of each row, but this is row 1, okay? And I also have a photo tutorial on the website of the first, I don't know how many rows, but quite a few rows, so that you'll get the hang of it as well. So then in row 2, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, that counts as a double crochet. Yarn over, and in that first stitch right there, we're going to work 2 double crochet. And this is adding to the width of this shawl, okay? And now we got to, in the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, okay, we're going to work a double crochet. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then in the center, chain 2 space, we're going to work a double crochet, oops, chain 2, and a double crochet. And then we're going to continue up the other side. We have to work a double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and I do have, like I said, the stitch count at the end of each row too in the pattern. And then in that top chain stitch of the previous row, chain 3, if I can get my hook in here, here we go, we're going to work 3 double crochet. Once you get your hook in there, it's not so bad. There's 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to turn it. And this is the end of row 2. See how nice it's starting to take shape? Okay. Now rows 3 to 6 is a repeat of row 2. So I think you have that. I'm going to work through rows 3 through 6 here. And then I'm going to join you back right at the point where we would be joining our white yarn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish working the yarn from here to here. And then when we get to the white yarn, I'll be working this row here, okay? But otherwise, it's just this complete repeat of what we've just been doing. You just continue to, well, here, I'll do the next row, and you can see it. It's just a repeat. We do our chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 double crochet in that first stitch, a double crochet in every single stitch up to the middle stitch, middle chain 2. So that's where it's kind of nice. Even though it looks difficult, it's really not. And you don't really have to count. Just crochet in the stitches. And you'll find this next part too with the white is pretty simple. And here we go. I'm back to the middle, and I do my double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And now I'm going to work my double crochets all to the way, and you see how fast I can work here? All the way to the other side. And then I'm going to end with 3 double crochet in that last stitch, which is the top chain of the first chain 3 of the previous row. And then I'm going to, like I said, I'll continue on. I have to get more yarn here. I'll quickly get it, because I don't want to waste camera time here for you as I'm working it. But if you wanted to see this row, here it is, and you can see me working it kind of fast. And there you go. And that row is done. Now I'm going to continue on up to the white yarn. Okay, I have worked through row 6, and you can see the really nice triangular shape taking place. And the next rows, through 7 through 12, we're going to be alternating between the front loop and the back loop. So as I'm holding my work towards me, this here is the front loop, and this one here is the back loop. So the very first row we're going to do is just, because normally you go right underneath both loops. You go into the hole right here and you go through underneath both loops. So now we're going to work either just in the front loop, like this, or just in the back loop, like this. And what that does is it creates a little ridge. We're going to be, remember, we're switching to the white yarn, but not on my sample. So on the white yarn, if you notice, compared to the, oops, I got my shawl hooked here. I can't bring it up to show you. On the white yarn here, there's little ridges, and it just adds to the detail. Where here, it's a little bit more flat when I worked it. So here the white yarn has a little bit more ridges, and I just wanted to add a little bit more, just a little bit, but something visually appealing that was easy to achieve. So we're going to work this part here, this white part, and it's alternating rows between front loop and back loop. So the very first, and so the stitches themselves are the same as what we just did in rows 1 through 6. So we're going to chain 3. This is always at the beginning and end of each row. 2 double crochet in the first stitch. Okay, and then in this case, we're going to work just in the front loop and do a double crochet front loop. So it's a front loop, double crochet, and then we do that in every single stitch. It takes just a little bit longer to make sure that you're just going through that front loop. But that's all that there is to it. And then the next row, we're going to do the back loop. And we're going to alternate between the front and back loop through row 12. So I'm just going to do one row of the front loop and back loop for you, so that if you're a new crocheter, you can see exactly how that's done. And then what I'll do is I'll finish the rows I should say, and then I'm going to show you how to do the open spaces with the gray yarn. But we're almost to the middle here. And I love how when I pull out extra yarn, whenever I'm videoing, it always wads up and tangles up on me. I don't know if you can see the wad that's hanging underneath my crocheting, but so far my yarn is coming through, so I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. I should have music playing for you in the background. All right, my last stitch just before the center chain 2, and I can't see, and I can't get it. There we go. Sometimes it just takes a little bit. Got to pay attention and have good light. So now I'm right up to that center point, my double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. You always work that in the center as well. The only thing that's different is what you're doing between the 2 ends and the center. So it's really quite repetitive and quite easy. Like I said, I have the stitch count on at the end of each row, just in case you would like to count. But I don't know that it's critical. There we go. And I'm going to show you the nice little ridge that forms when you do this. And it's the yarn that I had used is a thinner yarn. It's more of a lace yarn. And so you don't get as defined of a ridge as you would with the yarn I'm using here for the sample is Caron Simply Soft. And I'm using an H size hook because I want you to be able to see the stitches. Sometimes I don't know if folks can see the stitches if I use that thinner yarn. And I'm also using a contrasting color here against my white background in hopes that you can see the stitches as well. If I used a darker yarn, I don't think you can see those stitches. And if I used white on white, that might be hard as well. So hence the bright green chartreuse yarn. This is my son-in-law's favorite color. I made him a blanket in this color. And that pattern's on the website too. On the edge, I made brown hearts on it. And I made it probably 5 years ago. And he still wears it every day to snuggle up in. Or I shouldn't say wears it, covers up in it every single day. Now at the end, we just do our 3 double crochet in that last stitch. Okay. So this row with the front loop is done. So now on the back, you notice how it looks just a little bit different on the back. You don't have the ridges like you would on the back. It looks pretty flat. But then we turn it around, and right here, there's been a little ridge made. There's that little ridge. I don't know if you can tell. It's kind of hard to see maybe. But there is a little ridge that's formed. And so now what we do is the next one, we're going to work in the back loop. And then we're going to have a different ridge on the other side here. So I'm going to show you. Whoops. Because the ridge will be on this side here, but that's why I'm alternating. I had turned my yarn, or my work, 2, 3 chains, 2 double crochet, and then here we're going to work in the back loop because I wanted the ridges to all be on the same side. And by alternating like this and doing our double crochet in the back loop, we get the ridges on this all on the same side. I'm just going to get to the middle here and show you how nice it looks. And then I'll finish this up, and then on row 13, where we start with a light gray in the open work, I'll show you how that's done. And I believe once you get some of that under your belt, I mean, this is just, the shawl is just a repetition of this. It does end up on the very bottom there with a half double crochet with the gray. But that's, if you know how to do a half double crochet, and I do have a tutorial for that. If you know how to do a half double crochet, you're all set to go. And I'll have the instructions written out as well. Okay, one more. And see, and then we're up to our center where I would work my double crochet, chain 2 double crochet. But now I have a little bit more defined ridge on this side. Here's the defined ridge, you can see that. And then here's that subtle ridge from the front post. But both of my ridges are on this side. So then my next row, I would, when I turn it, I would work in that front loop, and then the other one, the back loop. So I would do this all the way through row 12. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is looking very nicely now. So I'm going to do that, and then I will meet you back for row 13. Okay, I have row 12 completed, and you can see the rows where I started my little ridges, how nicely this is starting to look. So now I'm ready to do the gray section, and in this case I'm going to keep using the same color. I'm not going to change. I'm going to keep it a solid color. And this row as well is very simple to work. It's, again, my chain 3 at the beginning, and then 2 double crochet in that same first stitch. And it hasn't taken me long. It probably took me about a half hour to work all of those rows that I just worked. So now we have our 3 double crochet in the first stitch. So now we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to skip 2. Skip this and skip this. In that next stitch, we're going to double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet in the next stitch as well. And then we're going to chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, and double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Pretty simple, right? And this is what we're going to do all the way to the center. Chain 2, skip 2, and double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And you notice how I just kind of eyeballed it there, the 2 stitches. It's pretty easy to pick out once you get moving along. 1, 2, skip the 2, and then 2 double crochet. This row is much faster to the work than the one that I just did, because you chain 2 for skipping 2, so it goes along quite quickly. And then I'm going to work all the way to the center, and then guess what? In that center stitch, we're going to do our double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. 1, 2, 3. And again, this is how we work 1, 2. Whoop, I didn't do my chain 2, pardon me. I'm so busy thinking about what I need to make sure I tell you. 1, 2, 3. Is that this whole different section from 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way through 18, we're going to work this open work here, where you do the chain 2 and 2 double crochet. And the only difference on each row is how you're going to come up to that center work, because it doesn't always in every single row come out exact. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then another one, and of course in this row it does. See, my 2 double crochet, and now I'm going to work my double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And remember, everything you do on this side you need to do on the other side. Now look at how pretty that's looking. It's very easy to achieve. And so then we continue on with our 2 double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, 2 double crochet in the next stitches, and then chain 2, 1, 2, 3. And then in that last stitch, we're going to work our 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. And then when we get to the next row, we're going to be putting our stitches 1, 2, 3 in the holes. So it makes it even easier, because I didn't feel like 2, 3. I didn't feel like stacking double crochet stitches on double crochet stitches and having to make sure that you're in the loops, because it goes faster if you work inside those holes. See, I'm making it easier, but it still makes it very pretty. And I think it's kind of nice to offset those sets of 2 double crochet stitches. I just have to get more yarn here. I apologize. And now that I'm ready to this far, I'm thinking, I've been sitting here thinking as I've been making these rows and crocheting 1, 2, 3 to show you. I think I'm going to continue on making this shawl in this color. I've only got this partial skein of yarn. I have to look in my yarn stash to see how much I have. I might have another skein. I think I need to look. And then add a nice pretty border on the very bottom. And just continue on and get the shawl done with the same pattern, but a different bottom to it. And I have it in my mind what I'd like to do. Skip these last 2, and then 3 double crochet in the last stitch. 1, 2, 3. And look at how fast row 13 went. And look at how pretty that is. Isn't this pretty? See, the center is nice and open. But this is how it looks on both sides. All right. And then I'm going to turn it now, and I'm going to do row 14 for you yet. Okay, so I'm on to row 14. So we're going to do our chain 3, 2 double crochet in that first stitch, then we're going to chain 2, skip the 2 double crochet stitches here. In this chain 2 space, we're going to work 2 double, whoop, I have to yarn over first. We're going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, and then skip those next 2, and in that next chain 2 space, work our double crochets, 2 of them. We're going to work this all the way across. So again, that's what I mean. Instead of having to worry about going into the top end of these stitches here, I'm just done my chain 2 to account for these double crochets, and we're working right in those chain 2 spaces, which really makes this lightning fast. If you're watching a movie or something, like I said, you kind of count, but not really. You just gotta, I just have to look at the directions to see, like, okay, what did I do when I came up to that center to make it look halfway decent? That's pretty much the only difference. And then chain 2. Double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, 2 double crochet. And yes, I'm working a little bit faster because I'm sure that you don't want to just sit here and watch me crochet. Maybe you do, but I don't think that my crocheting is that mesmerizing. Some people have a beautiful way to crochet, and I don't know that that's me. I try. I think I'm more utilitarian looking. I get the job done. And I have old hands. I don't have young, pretty hands either. Okay. All right, we're almost here. Now, here's the middle. So we're going to chain 2. And I got to read myself. Okay. Until the last 3 before. Then we're going to chain 2. Skip 2. And work 1 double crochet. Right there. And then we're going to go to our center space. We'll work our double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And then remember, whatever we do on one side, we do on the next. So here's our double crochet, chain 2, and then our skip 2, and then we go back to our chain 2, skip 2, and 2 double crochets. And then what we'll do is in that very last stitch, we will end up with 3 double crochet. And I have to get more yarn off of the roll here, but then I'll show you how row 14 looks. Okay. There's 1 and there's 2. Whoops. Chain 2. Boy, I'm struggling. Because I'm trying to hurry. Because I guess you could speed the video up. But then, you know, if you're like me, you'll end up missing the end piece or some piece that you wanted to see, and then you have to go back, and the time that you spend going back and forth, you must have just have watched it. Okay. I normally don't like actually to crochet this fast because then it's, I don't know, it's not as joyful. So it's more of a let's hurry up and get this done. And then chain 2. Okay, now we skip 2 and then 3 double crochet in the last stitch. And so we just follow those the pattern notes for where you're going to place your stitches. But pretty much this is how each row is going to go. And then you're going to go back to the same that you started off with in the very first 6 rows, which was just your double crochet in each stitch, and then your alternating front post, back post, and then your chain 2, skip 2. So it just adds a really nice texture throughout, and that's how this looks so far. And you'll turn it at the end of each row and continue on, and here's your centerpieces. So I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. I'm going to see, like I said, I might continue on with this. If you see a pattern for this, you're going to know that I did. And figure out a really pretty border to put on the very bottom of this scarf. I'll change it just a little bit. But please remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can get the free patterns on the website, patternprincess.com. Thank you and have a lovely day.